I'm going to be more of a facilitator here because Mike Wazowski is much more expert on the matter than myself. He's I'll let him tell you guys all about himself. But so yes, we have Howard and Mike, and this is Know Your Rights. This is going to go until 12:30, and without further ado, you all can introduce yourself. And first, we're going to hear from Howard. So,
good morning.
thank you, sir.
Good morning. First of all, I'm really honored to be here, and I'm very impressed that even at an early hour on a Saturday morning, you guys are out here. Certainly different from my two daughters who go to college. Anything before 2 o'clock for them is pretty much impossible. Let me tell you a little bit about my journey to get here. I got out of graduate school in 1971. I had a degree in rehab counseling, and I was interested in drug addiction. And got hired in one of the first methadone programs in the country as a counseling supervisor. And all the people that I was supervising were recovering addicts. And so we began getting patients in, and I learned an awful lot about heroin addiction. Short time later, I got another position council at Cincinnati, and our job was to advocate, try to develop treatment programs, which there really wasn't anything at that time. So we got involved in prevention programs in school, programs for DUI offenders. We established the first family intervention program in the area, and we started services for children of alcoholics, which was kind of unknown at that time. At age 42, I joined the Cincinnati Police Department, went through the police academy, and I'm out at the height of the crack epidemic, working as a beat cop in some Cincinnati neighborhoods where crack was really kind of devastating. Police career, I was able to do several things: commander of the police academy, commander of the community-oriented policing program, and I was on the SWAT team, and later I was in charge of our hostage negotiation team. And the last couple of years I spent as head of our vice squad. And the good news is, as I look around here, I really don't recognize anybody. Since I retired in 2007, I still teach at a couple of academies, and I'm very involved with LEAP, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, and we can talk a little bit more about that later. But since '07, I've been put in the position of doing a fair amount of public speaking, and it's always a challenge. I remember back when I was a cop, my daughter was in the 2nd grade, and they had some parent-teacher conferences at her school. And one of them went very badly when the mom brought out a knife, upset about a grade her daughter was getting, and the police were called in and dragged this lady away. So the teacher thought, you know, we ought to have a police officer come to class and talk to the kids about what cops do. And so she asked me if I'd do it. I said, sure. So I go in, here's this class of 2nd graders, and I'm in uniform, and we're talking about all this stuff. And we finish up, and I'm standing up talking to the teacher and my daughter, and this little girl comes up, and she goes, sir, what? She says, that was the worst speech I ever heard. Okay. So I'm walking out to the parking lot with my daughter, and she goes, Dad, don't worry about what that kid said. She just repeats what the other kids say. Let's hope we can do better than that. Know your rights. And I'll be anxious to hear what Mike has to say, and Stacy. It is important to know your rights. And Americans, you know, one of the things we've fallen down on is our citizenship. I teach at police academies and talk to police recruits, and as we talk about use of force, which is a big interest of mine, I ask the recruits, you know, the use of force issues are primarily tied to the 4th Amendment of the Constitution. And I say, who here can tell me what the 4th Amendment is? And they look back at me with this deer in the headlights look like, oh, good. You know? And it's a shame. The Constitution is kind of the controlling document for what cops do. And it's a controlling document for your relationship with the cops. So we ought to know what that thing says. So as a first step in learning about your rights, you need to take a look at that document, particularly the Fourth Amendment, which protects us as American citizens from unreasonable search and seizure. And that's the issue that we get to. What rights do cops have when they stop you in terms of going in your pockets, searching your car, looking in the trunk, the initial cost for the stop? Okay, everybody with me? 3 kind of basic levels of police stop are first, consensual stops. Cops can talk to anybody they want to. We're not prohibited from talking to anybody. If there's 3 of you on a street corner, I can walk up and start a conversation. Dennis, how the hell you doing, man? Does he have to talk to me? No, he's free to walk away. Consensual stop means just that. It's something we've both agreed to. One of the things that cops are very good at is turning that into something else. Okay? So, consensual stop, you have to feel, when you feel like you're not free to leave, we've moved into another area, haven't we? And that is reasonable suspicion. Reasonable suspicion means I believe that a crime has occurred and that you might be involved in it. And with reasonable suspicion, I have the right to detain you and investigate that crime that may have occurred. Very kind of vague, isn't it? A little bit ambiguous. So I get a report that there's some drug buying, drug selling activity at 14th and Walnut, and I drive down to 14th and Walnut, and here's these 2 guys standing there. I'm going to get out and say to them, you guys got a minute? What are they always going to say? Yes, sir, we do. What might they sometimes do? As I'm walking up,
you run.
Ooh, they start taking off. Bad move, guys. Supreme Court says that if people run on the approach of the cops, Wardlow versus Illinois, that creates probable cause for me to stop them. Okay, and probable cause, we'll define that in a second, but it's a little bit above reasonable suspicion. So if you're approached by the cops, the best strategy always is stand there and deal with them. Okay? If you take off running, if you decide to flee on foot, there is never a good outcome for that. One is, you may look at me and think, Jesus, that guy's going to be 75 years old. And if I can't outrun him, it's a sad day for me. But I've got something with me that you can't outrun, the radio. And I'm not even going to chase you. I'm going to go, you know, the guy in the red shirt, he's running this direction. We got some other guys up there that are going to get him. Okay? So it's going to happen. Do not run. And now if you run, it can get ugly in a big hurry. Because most police departments now, I don't know most, maybe 50 to 60%, now are equipped with tasers. Very ugly device. If you've ever been hit with one of these, and I have, it's 5 seconds of excruciating pain, okay? And it takes you down. So I'm chasing Carl here, and I get within a few feet of him, and I shoot this taser at him, and he's running. You know what's going to happen? He's going to go down like boom. And he's liable to have some chin damage, 3-point landing, because he's not going to get his hands out in front of him. He's going to go down, he's liable to hurt himself. And why'd you run? Well, I thought it was a good idea. No, it was a real bad idea. Because now we can add on some charges. He might have crosswalked, jaywalked when he was running. So these things never, ever go well. The other thing, if I don't get a taser, I might tackle him. And that's an ugly thing. Tackle somebody in the middle of the street, he's liable to get hurt, I'm liable to get hurt, and this thing just kind of builds on itself no good outcome, okay? Now, the third level of stop is probable cause. And probable cause, the definition is, I believe that a crime has been committed and that you're the one, okay? Probable cause is the standard we need to arrest somebody, okay? So, I get a complaint of drug dealing going on the corner, and I pull up and maybe I'm not in uniform, maybe I'm in old clothes. And I'm watching what's going on and I see a little of this to him and then something back to me. What do you think? That becomes probable cause. I've got a complaint and now I've witnessed a hand-to-hand transaction. So I'm going to pull up on her and she's going in handcuffs. Okay? Now we find out that he just bought a pack of gum from her. Is she still under arrest? No, we're on handcuffs. So handcuffing is a step in unreasonable suspicion. Can we handcuff somebody? Yeah, we can. The reasonable suspicion is we have to investigate and within a reasonable period of time come to some decision as to whether or not we've got probable cause to arrest or we don't. Okay, we don't, we're cutting you loose. Okay? Here's another thing I want you guys to avoid is getting into legal arguments with cops. Don't get into these discussions, you know, and what you're liable to get is, you know, well, what are you, a law student? Well, maybe I am. But a law student should be smart enough to shut the F up when the time is right. Okay? And, you know, we'll get some questions from you guys later, but one thing I want to talk about now is, and the scenarios I've just described are kind of open-air drug markets and people buying drugs. And I want to tell you guys, yeah, know your rights, but my advice to you is do not participate in the illegal drug market. And Representative Yuka told a touching story in there about a 78-year-old driving around Cleveland trying to find a drug dealer. My heart is beating, and because it's a damn good thing she didn't find one. These guys are in business on street corners, and they're successful in their business based on their willingness and ability to use violence. And when you pull up, you with the pink hair, you're like a sheep, and these guys are wolves. And I'm not. There's no way for me to overstate that. I've been on so many incidents where we've got these sort of naive kids, yeah, let's go buy some pot. You know, go down and pretty soon somebody's shot, beat up. There's just no taking that back. So we're talking about, you know, trying to move marijuana into a legalization framework. That's the point at which we got to begin purchasing it. Now, I think it's an extremely bad idea. I'm 100% for legalization of marijuana, and I don't mean medical marijuana, I mean taking the full step. Okay, to me, medical marijuana is making out when I'm interested in something else. So, here's what we're going to do, and believe me, if this stuff is legalized tomorrow, do not look for Howard Rots in line to buy it. Okay, I don't care about it. Okay, what I do care about is the violence that's around us, not only on our street corners, but Mexican border and Afghanistan and some other places. So this afternoon we'll have a chance to talk to them about the illegal market and what we can do to stop, to choke off the revenue to these killers. Okay?
It's cool, man.
So I'm going to stop right now and let Mike take a swing. And if you guys, I want you to start thinking of some questions. And when he finishes, maybe we'll have some. Thanks a lot, guys.